It was just another normal day in a small, bustling town where people went about their business, trying to make a living. But this day would soon become anything but ordinary. It was a day when the world would see a powerful story unfold, one of triumph, resilience, and a major turning point for a man who had been overlooked, laughed at, and underestimated. Little did anyone know, this man was about to receive the ultimate recognition from the most unlikely of places. Jamal Collins had been a mechanic for over 15 years, working tirelessly in his own small shop on the corner of Main Street. His business wasn't flashy, nor was it the biggest in town, but it was his passion, and for him, that was enough. Jamal loved what he did. He loved fixing things, making them run as they should, and bringing joy to his customers. To him, there was no better feeling than when someone came in with a broken car, and he was able to send them off with a repaired vehicle and a smile on their face. Unfortunately, not everyone shared the same respect for Jamal's work. There was a long history of prejudice in this town, and Jamal, as a black man, had felt the weight of it for years. Despite his skills and reputation in the community, many still saw him as just another black mechanic. Some people even had the audacity to undermine his work, but Jamal always held his head high, never letting the negativity affect him. He was determined to prove everyone wrong, one repair at a time. On this particular day, Jamal was finishing up work on a customer's car when something unusual happened. A police officer pulled up to the shop, parking his patrol car on the side of the road. The officer, Officer Gary Miller, was a regular in town, and Jamal had seen him around before. But today, something was different. Officer Miller stepped out of his car with a smirk on his face, his boots clicking against the pavement as he walked toward the garage. "Hey, Jamal," Officer Miller called, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "I hope you're not fixing that rust bucket again. You know, I'm surprised they even trust you with a wrench." Jamal paused for a moment, raising an eyebrow. He had dealt with officers like Miller before. This was not the first time he had been disrespected by someone in uniform, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. But Jamal wasn't going to let this get under his skin. "Just finishing up," Jamal replied, trying to keep his tone calm. "What brings you around today?" Officer Miller leaned against the wall, crossing his arms and letting out a laugh. "I just wanted to see how long it would take for you to mess up. You know, a mechanic like you." Before he could finish his sentence, Jamal felt a rising anger inside him. But instead of reacting, he focused on his work, tightening the last bolt on the car. He wasn't going to give Officer Miller the satisfaction of seeing him lose his cool. "You really think I can't do this?" Jamal asked, looking directly into the officer's eyes. His voice was steady, his confidence unwavering. Officer Miller chuckled. "Nah, I just think you're a bit out of your depth. Mechanics like you should stick to smaller jobs, not real repairs." It wasn't the first time Jamal had heard such words, but this time, something inside him snapped. He wasn't going to let this officer, or anyone, disrespect him again. He finished up the car, wiped his hands on a rag, and looked up at Miller. "You know, I've fixed more cars than you've probably driven," Jamal said, his voice calm but firm. "Maybe you should stick to driving and leave the real work to people who know what they're doing." Officer Miller's face hardened for a moment, clearly taken aback by Jamal's response. But before he could say anything else, a figure appeared at the entrance of the shop. It was the mayor, Mayor Lyle Jacobs. The mayor was well known in town, always trying to make things better, trying to bring the community together. And in that moment, he stepped forward with a smile on his face, his eyes focused on Jamal. "Jamal, I need to talk to you," Mayor Jacobs said, his voice full of respect and warmth. "And as for you, Officer Miller, I suggest you rethink your approach." Jamal was taken aback. Why was the mayor here? He hadn't expected this. But he listened carefully as the mayor continued. "You see, Jamal," Mayor Jacobs began, "this town needs more people like you. You've been working hard, providing great service to this community, and no one's really given you the credit you deserve. Well, today that changes." The mayor reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, shiny key. Jamal's eyes widened as the mayor extended it to him, a gesture that left him momentarily speechless. "Jamal Collins," Mayor Jacobs said, "today I'm giving you the key to the city. You've earned it. Not just for your skills, but for the way you've continued to work despite the odds stacked against you. You're a pillar of this community, and we want to honor that." Jamal stood there, stunned. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. A key to the city. It felt like a dream. Jamal stood there, the key in Mayor Jacobs' hand gleaming under the afternoon sun. It was surreal. For a moment, the weight of the moment seemed to freeze time. The officer who had disrespected him just moments ago was now standing there, quiet and still, as the mayor extended the small, symbolic key toward him. It wasn't just a physical object. It was a symbol of something far greater, a recognition of everything Jamal had worked for, everything he had endured. "Go ahead, take it, Jamal," Mayor Jacobs said, a smile spreading across his face. "This key represents not just your skills as a mechanic, but your character, your strength, and your unyielding dedication to this community." Jamal's heart raced. The officer, who moments before had laughed at him, was now standing there, his face a mix of discomfort and confusion. It was clear that Jamal had stunned everyone in the vicinity, including the mayor. For a second, the whole world seemed to quiet down, and Jamal, despite the rush of emotions, took a deep breath and reached out for the key. As his fingers closed around the cool metal, a flood of thoughts raced through his mind. The late nights working on cars, the never-ending hours spent under the hood, the quiet sacrifices of building his reputation from the ground up. He had been doing this for years, working harder than anyone could imagine, just to keep his business alive, just to prove that he belonged. "Thank you," Jamal finally said, his voice low and filled with emotion. He wasn't sure if he was thanking the mayor, thanking himself, or even thanking the universe for this unexpected recognition, but it felt right. It was a moment he had dreamed of for years, yet it had come when he least expected it. The mayor nodded with a knowing smile. "You deserve it, Jamal. This town is better because of people like you. You've put in the work. You've helped others when no one was looking. And now, it's time for everyone to see who you really are." Jamal turned his gaze to Officer Miller, who had gone silent since the mayor's arrival. The officer's expression had shifted from arrogance to something else, a mixture of humility and embarrassment. Jamal could see that the man was struggling to process the situation. He had laughed at Jamal, had doubted his abilities, and now, standing there witnessing this recognition, he was forced to confront his own prejudice. "Officer Miller," Mayor Jacobs said, his voice calm but firm, "it's time for you to remember what it means to serve this community. People like Jamal, people who work with their hands, who fight every day to make a difference. These are the people who make this town what it is. Don't forget that." The officer's face flushed a deep shade of red, his jaw clenched as he avoided Jamal's gaze. He mumbled something under his breath, but it was unclear if it was an apology or just a futile attempt at saving face. Jamal, however, had no interest in hearing it. He wasn't going to waste his time seeking validation from someone who had no respect for him in the first place. Instead, he turned his focus back to the mayor. The crowd that had gathered around the scene began to murmur, whispers spreading like wildfire through the small town. People had witnessed everything. The officer's rude comments, the mayor's gesture, and most importantly, Jamal's quiet strength and resilience. The bystanders who had once doubted him, who had believed the same stereotypes, were now witnessing something different. They were witnessing a man who had earned respect, not by asking for it, but by simply living his truth and staying true to his craft. "I'm just doing my job," Jamal said to the mayor, holding the key tightly in his hand. "I've always done my job, but this feels different. It feels like something real is finally happening." The mayor smiled again, his eyes gleaming with pride. "You've earned every bit of this, Jamal. Keep doing what you're doing, and remember, there's a whole community behind you now. We'll always have your back." With that, the mayor shook Jamal's hand firmly, and for the first time that day, Jamal felt a weight lift off his shoulders. The air felt lighter, as if a burden he hadn't realized he was carrying had been removed. The mayor wasn't just giving him a key to the city. He was offering something much more profound, a promise of support, of recognition, and of fairness. As the crowd began to disperse, Jamal felt a new sense of purpose welling up inside him. He had been pushed to the brink, time and time again, by prejudice, by disrespect, by unfair judgments. But now, it was clear to everyone in that moment that he wasn't just a mechanic. He was someone who mattered. He had always mattered. With the key to the city in his hand, Jamal knew that this was only the beginning. This recognition was more than just a nice gesture. It was a catalyst for change. It was a sign that he was no longer going to be overlooked. His hard work, his contributions to the town, and his unwavering dedication were now being acknowledged, not by just a few, but by the very heart of the town itself. As Jamal walked back to his shop, the world felt different. The noise of the engines in his garage, the clatter of tools, the scent of grease and oil, it all felt a little more significant now. He wasn't just fixing cars. He was fixing something deeper. He was fixing the narrative, one repair at a time. Jamal knew that this key wasn't just a symbol of what he had done. It was a symbol of what was yet to come. He had taken the first step, but now it was up to him to continue proving that hard work, integrity, and passion could break through even the most stubborn walls of ignorance. Jamal's shop was no longer just a place where cars were fixed. It had become a symbol of something much larger. The key to the city, held tightly in his hand, felt heavier than it ever had before. Every time he looked at it, he was reminded of the journey, of the years of hard work and quiet perseverance, and now, the respect he had earned. But this wasn't just about recognition. It was about what came next. As Jamal settled into his chair in the garage, he thought about what the mayor had said. "We'll always have your back." It wasn't just a comforting statement, it was a call to action. The town had given him the key, but now it was time for Jamal to step up in ways he hadn't before. He wasn't just going to be the mechanic on the corner anymore. He was going to be the face of something bigger, the voice of the underrepresented, the hard-working people who made the town tick. A few weeks had passed since the ceremony, and Jamal noticed a shift in the atmosphere. More people were coming to his shop now, not just for repairs, but for advice, for a sense of community. It was as though the key had opened up new opportunities, new connections, and Jamal was ready to embrace them all. One afternoon, as he worked under the hood of a car, a familiar face walked into the garage. It was Officer Miller again, his posture now more relaxed, his face no longer carrying that smirk of superiority. He stood there for a moment, unsure of how to start the conversation, but then finally spoke up. "Jamal," Officer Miller began, his voice lacking the sarcasm it once had. "I want to apologize for what I said that day. I don't know what I was thinking. I was wrong to disrespect you. You've done more for this town than I ever gave you credit for, and I can see that now." Jamal paused his work and looked up at the officer. The apology was unexpected, but it wasn't something he was going to turn away. He knew that forgiveness was powerful, but so was understanding. He had been given the key to the city, but this moment, this honest, vulnerable exchange, felt just as important. "You know, Officer Miller," Jamal said, his voice calm, "we all make mistakes. I appreciate your apology. I've had to deal with people underestimating me for years. It's just part of the game. But if we don't learn from it, we stay stuck. So yeah, I forgive you. Let's move forward." Officer Miller's face softened, a genuine smile forming as he nodded. "Thank you, Jamal. I promise I'll do better. You've shown me something I never expected, and I think the whole town could learn from your example." With that, Officer Miller left the shop, but this time, there was no tension. There was no animosity. There was just mutual respect. It was clear that Jamal wasn't just earning respect from the mayor or the community. He was also making an impact on those who had once doubted him. Jamal's story was becoming a beacon for others in the town. People who had once faced similar struggles began to reach out to him, asking for advice, seeking inspiration, and sharing their own experiences. What started as a single key to the city had now become a key to unlocking a community that was ready to change, to see things differently, and to celebrate everyone's contributions, regardless of their background or profession. One day, as Jamal was sitting in his garage, a group of young aspiring mechanics came in, eager to learn. They had heard his story. They had seen the way he had been recognized by the mayor, and they wanted to follow in his footsteps. Jamal didn't hesitate. He took them under his wing, showing them the ropes, teaching them everything he knew about cars, tools, and life in the garage. I've been doing this for a long time, Jamal told the group. But it's not just about fixing cars. It's about building relationships, earning trust, and standing firm in who you are. That's what matters. The young mechanics listened intently, absorbing every word. They could see the pride in Jamal's eyes, and they understood that this wasn't just about the skill set. It was about the person behind the wrench, the man who had proven that hard work and integrity always went out in the end. As Jamal looked around at the young faces, he realized that his story had become more than just his own. It was now part of something much larger. The key to the city wasn't just a symbol of his achievements. It was a symbol of the collective potential of his community. A community that had learned to see beyond the surface, to look deeper, and to appreciate the work of every individual, no matter who they were or where they came from. Jamal's garage had transformed into a place of learning, growth, and opportunity. And as for Officer Miller, he was back at Jamal's shop on more than one occasion, not as the officer who had once belittled him, but as a regular customer, asking for advice on how to keep his own car running smoothly. The town had changed, and so had the relationships between its people. As Jamal stood there, surrounded by the young mechanics he was mentoring, he couldn't help but smile. It wasn't just the key to the city that had made a difference. It was the people, the stories, and the willingness to change and grow together. So, if you've learned something from Jamal's story today, take a moment to reflect. If you've ever felt underestimated, if you've ever been pushed down by the weight of others' prejudices, remember this: you matter. Your hard work, your integrity, and your passion will always speak louder than the doubts others try to place on you. And if you believe in Jamal's story, if you believe in the power of resilience, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear it. Let's continue to inspire and empower each other, one story at a time. Like this story? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspirational content from the HOA Stories. We're all in this together, and we've got more powerful stories coming your way.